November 2nd, 1944. 14:20 hours. The sky over Czechoslovakia was already turning into a killing zone. Flak bursts ripped open the clouds like black flowers, exploding in tight clusters around a lone American fighter. Inside that aircraft, First Lieutenant Bruce Carr gripped the controls of his P-51D Mustang as the engine shuddered violently beneath him. He was only 20 years old. 37 combat missions behind him. 5 confirmed kills. A rising name in the U.S. Army Air Forces. But at that moment, none of that mattered. Because his engine was dying. German anti-aircraft fire had found its mark. Oil pressure dropping fast. Temperature spiking beyond safe limits. The Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, one of the finest engines of the war, was seconds away from seizing completely. Carr didn't panic. He calculated. At 4,000 feet above enemy territory, there were no good options. Only bad ones, and one final choice. Below him stretched miles of German-occupied land. Forests, villages, patrols, and civilians who, in recent weeks, had beaten captured American airmen to death. The Wehrmacht might take prisoners. The Gestapo didn't bother. Carr had maybe 90 seconds left before the engine locked up. He reached for the canopy release. The cockpit exploded open to the freezing air. Wind tore at his flight suit as he rolled the Mustang upside down. And then, he let go. The sky swallowed him. For a moment, there was only silence, then the violent rush of air as he fell. 1,000 feet. 1,500. At 2,000 feet he pulled the ripcord. The parachute snapped open. Below him, endless forest. No friendly lines. No rescue. Just enemy territory in every direction. And a 20-year-old pilot descending straight into it. His P-51, the aircraft he had named Angel's Playmate, slammed into the ground miles away and exploded into flames. Carr landed hard in a forest clearing. No time to rest. He gathered his parachute, hid it quickly, and started moving west. Toward France. Toward survival. Toward a journey that, by every calculation, he should not survive. The first night was the hardest. No food. No water. Only the cold. November in Czechoslovakia was unforgiving. Temperatures dropped fast after sunset, and Carr's flight suit offered little protection. His hands trembled, not just from fear, but from the creeping bite of hypothermia. He moved only at night. During the day he hid. Flat against the forest floor. Under brush. Inside shallow depressions. Anywhere that might conceal him from German patrols sweeping the countryside. More than once, he heard boots crunching just yards away. Voices speaking German. Rifles slung and ready. Each time he stayed perfectly still. Barely breathing. Because one mistake, one sound, meant death. By the second day, hunger set in. A dull ache at first. Then sharper. Then constant. Carr had no survival kit beyond what he carried on his body. No rations. No canteen. Just a .45 pistol and the training every pilot hoped they would never need. He covered miles slowly. 12 the first day. Maybe another 10 the second. But it wasn't enough. Not even close. France was still far away. Too far. By the third day, his body was breaking down. His hands shook uncontrollably. His vision blurred. Every step felt heavier than the last. He had covered maybe 30 miles. He still had over 150 to go. At that rate, he wouldn't make it. Not even close. The math was simple. He would die out here, either from starvation, from exposure, or from a German patrol finding him first. On the morning of November 5th, Bruce Carr made a decision. Not a desperate one. A calculated one. He would surrender. But not to just anyone. Not to the Wehrmacht. And definitely not to the Gestapo. He would surrender to the Luftwaffe. German fighter pilots had a reputation. Professional. Disciplined. They treated captured Allied airmen with a level of respect, pilot to pilot. It wasn't mercy. It was understanding. And right now, it was his best chance to survive. For 2 days, Carr had been observing something in the distance. German aircraft. Taking off, landing, circling overhead. There was an airfield nearby. A Luftwaffe base. If he could reach it, he might survive the war as a prisoner. It wasn't freedom, but it was life. And at this point, that was enough. By dusk, Carr reached the perimeter. He stayed hidden in the tree line, watching. Focke-Wulf 190 fighters were scattered across the field. Ground crews moved between them. Fuel trucks rolled slowly across the base. Mechanics worked on engines under dim lights. This was no small outpost. It was an active combat airfield, which made what Carr was about to do even more dangerous. His plan was simple. At first light, he would walk out, hands raised, no weapon drawn, and hope that a German pilot, not a soldier, saw him first. But that plan didn't last long, because as night fell, something changed. Near the edge of the field, Carr saw two German mechanics working on a fighter, a Focke-Wulf 190, one of the most dangerous aircraft in the Luftwaffe arsenal. They checked the engine, ran it briefly, topped off the fuel, tested the controls. They walked away, leaving the aircraft sitting there, fueled, ready to fly. Carr didn't move, didn't breathe. He just stared at it. A fully operational German fighter, sitting alone, in the dark, on an enemy airfield. And in that moment, everything changed. That one aircraft changed everything. A few minutes ago, Bruce Carr had been planning to surrender. He was thinking about stealing a German fighter from the middle of a Luftwaffe base. It wasn't bravery. It wasn't madness. It was something in between. Because surrender meant survival, but captivity. Stealing that aircraft meant freedom, or instant death. Carr stayed in the shadows, eyes locked on the Focke-Wulf 190. No guards nearby. No mechanics. No movement. Just a silent machine sitting in the dark like it was waiting for him. He began calculating again. Distance from tree line to aircraft, about 20 yards. Open ground. No cover. If anyone saw him, it was over. Time mattered. The base would be active at dawn. Mechanics would return. Pilots would arrive. Engines would start. And the opportunity would vanish forever. Carr checked the sky. Moonlight faint. Good enough. At 2200 hours he moved. Slowly. One step at a time. Every sound felt amplified. Dry leaves under his boots. His breathing. His heartbeat. It felt loud enough to alert the entire base. He reached the fence first. Rust had eaten through part of the wire at the bottom. He dropped flat. Slid underneath. Careful not to make a sound. Now he was inside. An American pilot, armed, on a German airbase. He paused. Listened. Nothing. Then he moved again. Across open ground. Every step expecting a shout. A gunshot. A flood of light. Nothing came. He reached the aircraft. Placed his hand on the wing. Cold metal. This was actually happening. Carr pulled himself up onto the wing root and slid into the cockpit. Immediately, something felt wrong. Everything. The cockpit was smaller than his Mustang. Tighter. More compact. The layout was completely different. Every gauge, every switch, every label. In German. He couldn't read any of it. Carr sat still for a moment, letting his eyes adjust, letting his mind settle. Then he started working. Not with knowledge, but with instinct. He used his hands. Memory. Comparison. In American aircraft, controls followed certain patterns. Throttle placement. Gear lever. Flaps. Ignition. He searched for similarities. The throttle, left side. Different from the Mustang, but manageable. Stick, center. Heavier. Rudder pedals, slightly angled. He memorized everything. Not visually, but physically. This switch. That lever. This handle. That knob. Over and over. Because once the engine started, there would be no time to think. Then he noticed something unusual. There weren't as many controls as he expected. In a P-51 Mustang, a pilot had to manage multiple systems. Throttle, mixture, propeller pitch, supercharger. All separate, all critical. But here, it was different. The Focke-Wulf had something advanced. Something Carr had never used before. A single control system. The Germans called it the Kommandogeret. One lever that controlled everything. throttle, mixture, propeller pitch, supercharger, all automatically adjusted by an internal mechanical system. It was revolutionary. And in that moment, it was Carr's only chance. Because without it, he would never get airborne. Now he needed one thing. The starter. Carr reached around the cockpit, feeling along the panel, searching. He found it. A T-shaped handle. Right side. No idea what it said. No idea how it worked. Push? Pull? He didn't know. But he memorized it anyway. Landing gear lever. Found. Flaps. Located. Canopy. Understood. The gun sight? Irrelevant. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to escape. Hours passed. Carr stayed in that cockpit. Completely still. Cold creeping into his body. Hunger twisting his stomach. Exhaustion pressing down on him. But he didn't sleep. He couldn't. Because this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. Every few minutes, he would move his hands again. Rechecking positions. Reconfirming memory. Throttle. Starter. Gear. Flaps. Fin. And again. And again. Because once the sun came up, everything would happen fast. And there would be no second chances. Time moved slowly. Until finally, the sky began to change. 5:30. A faint light appeared on the horizon. Morning was coming. Carr heard voices in the distance. German voices. Doors opening. Boots moving. Engines being checked. The base was waking up. He had minutes left. Maybe less. Carr wrapped his fingers around the T-handle. This was it. No more thinking. Only action. He pushed the handle. Nothing. No sound. No movement. His heart started pounding. Wrong control? Dead battery? Broken system? Voices getting closer. Time running out. Carr tried again. Pushed harder. Still nothing. His mind raced. He made a decision. He pulled the handle instead. A high-pitched whine filled the cockpit. The inertia starter. It was working. The sound grew louder. Higher. Faster. Carr pulled again. The engine coughed. Twice. The roar to life. The BMW 801 engine exploded into motion. 14 cylinders. Nearly 2,000 horsepower. The entire aircraft shook violently. Smoke blasted from the exhaust. The propellers spun into a blur. And somewhere on the base, men started shouting. They knew. Carr didn't wait. He released the brakes. Pushed the throttle forward. The aircraft surged ahead. Power. Violent. He had no idea where the runway was. Didn't matter. Ahead of him, a narrow gap between two hangars. Maybe wide enough. Maybe not. Speed climbing. 50 miles per hour. The gap rushed toward him. Too fast to stop. Too late to change direction. Carr pulled back on the stick. The wheels left the ground. The wing tips cleared the structures. By inches. He was airborne. An American pilot. Flying a German fighter. Over a German airbase. Chaos erupted below. Shouting. Running. Confusion. Carr banked hard left. Dropped low. Treetop level. Because at that altitude, anti-aircraft guns couldn't track him. He pushed the throttle forward. Maximum power. And pointed the aircraft west. Toward France. Toward Allied lines. Toward survival. Behind him, a Luftwaffe base was waking up to an impossible reality. One of their fighters was gone. And the man flying it was the enemy. Bruce Carr was flying. But he wasn't safe. Not even close. He was in a stolen German fighter. A Focke-Wulf 190. Marked with enemy insignia. Deep inside enemy territory. And every second mattered. He dropped lower. 50 feet above the ground. Sometimes less. Trees blurred past him. Power lines flashed by. Church towers appeared out of nowhere. One mistake, and he was dead. But staying low had one advantage. German anti-aircraft guns couldn't track him. Too fast. Too low. Too unpredictable. Carr pushed the throttle forward. Maximum power. The Commandagerat system responded instantly. Automatically adjusting everything. Fuel mixture. Propeller pitch. Engine output. German engineering. Saving an American pilot. Speed increased. 300 miles per hour. Then more. Fields turned into streaks. Roads vanished under him. Villages flashed past before they even registered. On the ground, German soldiers looked up. Confused. Luftwaffe fighter. Flying the wrong direction. Carr didn't care. He stayed low. Stayed fast. Stayed alive. Minutes turned into an hour. His hands stayed locked on the controls. Eyes scanning constantly. Fuel. Direction. Altitude. No mistakes. Because now, a new danger appeared. Ahead. The invisible line. Allied territory. Safety? The moment he crossed it, he became a target. Because from the ground, he wasn't Bruce Carr. He was the enemy. Carr crossed into Allied-controlled airspace. And instantly, the sky came alive. Tracers ripped past him. American anti-aircraft guns opened fire. Bright lines of death streaked toward him. Carr flinched as rounds slammed into the aircraft. Metal tearing. Panels shaking. He felt the impacts. He heard them. But he couldn't stop. Too low to bail. Too fast to land. Too dangerous to hesitate. He pushed forward. Faster. Harder. The engine screamed. More tracers. Closer now. American gunners were adjusting. Getting accurate. Carr gritted his teeth. He was being shot at. By his own side. He saw it. His base. Ensbach. Runway ahead. American aircraft lined up. P-51 Mustangs. His squadron. But it didn't feel like home. Because the guns were still firing. 40mm anti-aircraft cannons turning toward him. Tracking. Ready. Carr pulled up. Cut throttle. Time to land. Before they destroyed him, he reached for the landing gear. Pushed the lever. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. Hydraulics were dead. Damage from earlier hits. Or mechanical failure. Didn't matter. The gear wasn't coming down. Carr had seconds. Below him, American gunners locking in. No radio. No identification. No way to explain. This was a German fighter attempting landing. Unauthorized. Hostile. Carr made the only decision left. He pushed the nose down. Committed. Full belly landing. At 120 miles per hour. Metal screamed against concrete. Sparks exploded under the aircraft. The propeller struck first. Shattered instantly. The aircraft skidded. Violent. Uncontrollable. Pieces tore away. Panels ripped loose. The fuselage grinding down the runway. 500 feet. Silence. The aircraft stopped. Smoke rising. Engine dead. And somehow, Bruce Carr was alive. He tried to move. Couldn't. His body was done. 3 days. No food. No sleep. Extreme cold. Adrenaline crash. His hands wouldn't respond. The cockpit stayed closed. Voices. Shouting. American soldiers. Military police. They surrounded the aircraft. Weapons ready. They saw German markings. They saw a pilot inside. They reacted instantly. They climbed onto the wing. Grabbed him. Tried to pull him out. Aggressive. They thought he was the enemy. Carr tried to speak. Tried to explain. But his voice was weak. His body wouldn't cooperate. His hands couldn't release the harness. The soldiers pulled harder. Confusion. Shouting. Tension rising. Seconds away. From something going very wrong. Everything stopped. A new voice. Authority. A man stepped forward. Colonel George Bickle. Commander. He looked at the aircraft. Looked at the pilot. And froze. Because he recognized him. Dirty. Exhausted. Half frozen. But unmistakable. One of his own. Bruce Carr. The shouting stopped. The pulling stopped. Silence. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the truth settled in. An American pilot had just landed, a stolen German fighter, on his own base. The soldiers backed off. Carefully now. They helped him out. Slowly. Medics rushed in. Wrapped him. Carried him away. Within an hour, he was inside. Alive. Hot coffee in his hands. First real food in 3 days. The Focke-Wulf sat on the runway. Damaged, but intact. A prize. An impossible one. Intelligence teams arrived quickly. They examined everything. Engine. Controls. Systems. The Commandagerat. Weeks of study followed. Because Bruce Carr hadn't just survived. He had delivered something priceless. A working German fighter. Straight into American hands. Soon after, an official order was issued. Direct. No more stealing enemy aircraft. Too dangerous. Too confusing. Too risky. Carr recovered. Quickly. Returned to duty. Back to flying. Back to combat. But something had changed. His reputation. His identity. The pilot who stole a German fighter. The pilot who survived the impossible. So he would do something even more unbelievable. Bruce Carr was back in the air. New aircraft. New missions. Same pilot. For now, everyone knew his name. The man who stole a German fighter. The man who survived the impossible. December 1944. Carr kept flying. Aggressive. Fearless. Adding more kills. Pushing harder every mission. No hesitation. No fear. Only attack. By early 1945, he had 7 confirmed victories. An ace. But Carr wasn't satisfied. Not even close. Every mission, he flew lower. Faster. Closer to danger. His gun camera footage showed something unusual. Enemy aircraft filling the entire frame. Point-blank range. He didn't shoot from distance. He got close. Too close. April 2nd, 1945. Morning mission. Near Schweinfurt, Germany. Carr led a flight. 451 Mustangs. Standard operation. Hunting ground targets. Trucks. Trains. Canvas. Routine mission. Till they looked up. 60 German fighters. Above them. 5,000 feet higher. Focke-Wulf 190s. Messerschmitt 109s. A wall of aircraft. Standard doctrine was clear. Do not attack. Outnumbered 15-1. Enemy has altitude advantage. No element of surprise. Every rule set. Disengage. Return. Report. Carr ignored every rule. He pushed the throttle forward. Pulled back on the stick. And climbed. Straight toward them. 3 wingmen followed. For Mustangs. Climbing into 60 enemy fighters. It made no sense. And that's why it worked. Carr reached the formation. High speed. 380 miles per hour. Target locked. Rear aircraft. Focke-Wulf 190. The German pilot never saw him. Carr fired. The aircraft exploded. First kill. No hesitation. Next target. Another Focke-Wulf. Short burst. Fire. Second kill. Now the formation reacted. Chaos. German pilots braking. Turning. Calling out positions. Carr didn't slow down. He pushed deeper. Into the formation. A Messerschmitt 109 crossed his path. Carr adjusted. Fired. Direct hit. Aircraft broke apart midair. Third kill. Sky filled with tracers. Aircraft diving. Spinning. Exploding. Dogfight chaos. Carr spotted another target. Trying to escape. He followed. Close distance. Waited. Perfect moment. Fired. Explosion. Fourth kill. One more. He needed one more. Ace in a day. The rarest achievement. Almost impossible in 1945. He saw it. A Messerschmitt climbing. Trying to escape. Unaware. Carr slid behind. 150 yards. Point blank. He could see everything. Pilot. Markings. Movement. He fired. The aircraft caught fire instantly. Rolled over. Fell from the sky. Fifth kill. It was done. Bruce Carr had become an ace in a day. 5 kills. 1 mission. 11 minutes. The German formation collapsed. 15 aircraft destroyed. By 4 American fighters. Carr turned west. Checked his wingmen. All alive. Impossible mission. Successful. They landed at base. Ground crews counted damage. Carr's aircraft. 7 bullet holes. Still flyable. Debrief lasted hours. Officers asked one question. Carr answered simply. They were heading for our bombers. I had fuel. I had ammo. So I attacked. No long explanation. No theory. Just action. A week later. Promotion. Captain. 21 years old. 14 confirmed kills. 1 stolen enemy aircraft. A legend. April continued. More missions. More kills. April 25, 1945. His final victories. 2 more enemy aircraft destroyed. May. Victory in Europe. War ended. Bruce Carr. 172 combat missions. 14 plus aerial victories. Shot down once. Escaped by stealing enemy aircraft. And survived it all. But his story didn't end. Korea. 57 missions. Jet combat. 286 missions. Different war. Same pilot. Total. 500 plus combat missions. 3 wars. He retired in 1973. 31 years of service. But he never stopped flying. 73 years old. He still flew a P-51 Mustang. 300 knots. Low altitude. Perfect control. A lifetime in the sky. April 25, 1998. Bruce Carr passed away. 74 years old. Exactly 53 years. After his final aerial victories. Today, he rests in Arlington National Cemetery. No mention of the stolen aircraft. No mention of the 60 fighters. But the story lives on. Because some legends don't need words carved in stone. They live in the sky, in history, and in stories like this.